Hello, welcome to the 2021 NYLA Council of Canada's Q&A session. Today I'll be speaking with Laura Osternout from the Rochester Regional Library Council, who is running for NYLA Councilor-at-Large representing academic and special library. Before we begin, please note that the session was pre-recorded for your convenience, and we encourage you to take the time to watch each of the candidates' Q&As to get to know each of our candidates. Also note that the 2021 NYLA Council election will open voting starting on June 15th and will close on July 15th. And not all will send details on how to vote via email. Also note that your vote is anonymous and you will only be able to submit your ballot once. And in order to vote, you must be an active NYLA member. If you have any questions about how to vote, anything like that, please feel free to contact me at marketing@nyla.org. Finally, full bios of each of our candidates and the full recording of each Q&A session will be made available using the link found on the slide at the end of this recording. So without further ado, let's get the Q&A session started with Laura. Hi, Laura, how are you doing today?
I'm doing well. How about you?
Doing good. The weather's nice, so always fun.
Yeah.
So our first question is, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I'm the executive director at the Rochester Regional Library Council. So we serve all types of libraries in the 5-county region around Rochester. We also serve museums, historical societies, cultural heritage orgs. So it's a pretty good gig. But on a personal level, I'm married. I have a son. I have a dog. I just bought a house inexplicably in this crazy housing market. So that's happening. I'm pretty tired, as you can imagine, but it's all good. So
thank you. So our first question is, what do you see as NYLA's most important responsibility to New York's library community?
Sure. I feel now, I basically always felt that NYLA's most important role is to advocate for libraries. And there's a lot of ways that NYLA does that. So, what comes to mind first is probably NYLA continuing to be a visible advocate for library funding. We see that year after year in New York State, they do their fun little budget dance back and forth. And NYLA is always there leading the effort to increase funding and to deal with legislative priorities. I had the experience of being on the legislative committee, I think for 3 years. And that was a really good experience because I got to see NYLA kind of leading this effort and coming together with its members to form an agenda, an advocacy agenda that included, not only funding priorities, but also legislative priorities, and then developing a strategy to move those forward.
Right.
And I was also fortunate to be on the hiring committee when NYLA interviewed the Director of Government Relations and Advocacy, Bree, and that was a great experience. And, I couldn't be more pleased with how that came out. She's brought a really new level of energy and organization to NYLA's policy and funding advocacy efforts. And I think we're actually starting to see the needle move. But like some of the other ways that NYLA advocates for libraries are kind of tied to the mission, like educating library staff, which helps them on an individual level, but also helps libraries be more successful as their individual staff members are successful. And then just being a leader in the field and helping folks come together to do things that they couldn't do on their own. And, if you think about things like the Sustainability Initiative or the Developing Leaders Program, I see all of that as related to advocacy.
Yeah, thank you. So what do you feel is our biggest challenge as we move into the post-pandemic world?
Well, I think for all of us, the pandemic has really crystallized the concept of digital inequity. And, like people working in libraries, we already got that concept, but now it's much more widely understood among the community, and elected officials in particular. So I think our challenge as library leaders is going to be to roll full steam ahead with, services and programming that can flourish in a digital space without excluding or leaving behind those folks who lack access. And I think, it impacts all libraries and, all sectors beyond libraries. And I was really interested and happy to see recently that Assemblymember Jen Lunsford, she's in the Rochester region, she hosted a session about digital libraries because she's the chair of the digital library subcommittee. And there were a bunch of library folks from across the state who spoke about the myriad of issues that are related to delivering digital services and also reaching the folks who lack access or struggle with access. So I'm really happy to see these issues coming to the forefront because I think they're going to be and continue to be our biggest challenge going forward.
I completely agree. So our next question is, how do you see libraries moving forward or staying vital into the next decade and beyond? And you kind of touched upon it in the last question.
Well, preaching to the choir here, but libraries are more vital than they've ever been. And in fact, they've always been vital, and people that use libraries have always known that. But I think, we're seeing libraries becoming more and more recognized by the general public and our elected officials as trusted resources, subject matter experts, and community agencies. They fill a variety of roles that you might typically expect other agencies to be filling. So I don't want to speculate out on the next decade. That's bananas. But I think in the immediate future, and we're already seeing it, we're seeing libraries working on things that have major impacts on societal and global issues. You're like digital inequity, social justice and anti-racism, and climate change. So those are some of the things I think we're seeing here.
Thank you. And what do you see as the priority from NYLA in the next year?
I don't see NYLA's priorities really changing necessarily. I think it should still be advocating for the advancement of libraries, through all the things that I mentioned when we first started talking.
Yeah.
Even though the whole world seems different now, at a fundamental level, library work and library core values are the same. And I think we're finding new ways of going about this work. But, for NYLA, the priority will still be to focus on the mission, to lead, to educate, and advocate.
Awesome, thank you. And then finally, what skill set will you bring to this position?
I don't know if this is a skill set necessarily, but my identity in my day job is to represent the interest of and provide programs and services to all types of libraries. So I think that makes me a natural fit for NYLA Council because I can sort of maybe empathize with the whole contingent of NYLA members. But running for a spot to specifically represent academic and special libraries, I think I'm also a good fit because I think about these folks every single day in my job. And I think, maybe not a skill as well, but I have a really large network of library and library adjacent people that I work with on a regular basis. And that really serves to expand my understanding of issues and widen my perspective and bring different things to the table. And, I think as far as skills, I think what's really important being on NYLA Council and in any group or committee or whatever is being a good listener. And a lot of people think that they are, but I actually am a good listener.
Yeah.
Because most of the time I'm not talking, I'm really taking things in. But when I have something to say, I make it very clear. So I think that is a skill that I will bring to the NYLA Council situation, is to really absorb everyone else's viewpoints and then help to kind of crystallize what's important for academic and special libraries. And that's the message that I'm going to be delivering.
Thank you. And also I relate to the thing with people always say they're a good listener, but they're not actually taking it in. So, but thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me today. Okay. It was great getting to know you. And as I mentioned before, so at the next slide, you'll see information on how to vote and also how to see all of the other candidates' Q&As. So hope you have a great day, Laura, and good luck.
Yeah, thank you so much. Good talking to you.
Bye.
Bye.